Hola familia, it's your girl T, aka the nappy-headed jojoba, and we're talking waveformers, y'all. For those of you who are not part of my nap fam, just a heads up, I tend to be very thorough in all of my videos, so this is going to be a lengthy one. You can already see the TRT down there. You saw it before you clicked, so I do have a lot of things I want to go through. So let's jump right in, and I'm just going to go point by point. I've got notes on my phone as always, so I don't get off track. In case you didn't know, waveformers are a thing now. Word on the street is these have been going around IG a lot. I don't be on Instagram like that. I mostly just keep up with my friends and y'all on there. I don't really fuck with the explore page too much. I did not become aware of these through Instagram. One of you guys actually asked me in the comments if I had tried waveformers yet, and I responded, I have not. What I did not include was I had not tried them because I had no idea what she was talking about. Cut to the YouTube algorithms literally a couple of hours later suggesting a video where I saw a lady with a bunch of these in her hair, and I was just like, well, that must be the waveformers. Of course I watched that video at once. And after doing a little bit more searching, I only saw maybe 3 videos in total, including that one on these things. My guess is they're pretty new and they're just starting to make the rounds on the social media. And out of the 3 or so videos that I saw, I didn't see anyone with my hair texture using them. So I took my ass to eBay pretty much immediately and made a purchase because I saw that the shipping estimate was about a month. So let's actually just take a look here. Let me pull up when I initially ordered these because I had to get my order in before the lock. Some of you guys are doing the Make It Happen March challenge with me where we're not doing any unnecessary / impulse purchases. But I was in before the lock and I placed my order on February 20th. And my order was delivered to my P.O. box on March 9th. So actually they delivered it well ahead of what the estimate said, or at least the longer end of the estimate had said. These came in packs of 12 and I purchased 4 packs. So I had a total of 48. They are 50 centimeters long supposedly, but I cannot find my tape measure to verify that. And I paid $16.48 American, including shipping, which by the way is an amazing bargain because that's well cheaper than what I paid for any of my Curlformers or Curlformers dupes. A lot of these eBay sellers selling things like this, you know, knockoff Curlformers and things of this nature tend to come and go. You know, it's constant closing and opening of these types of sellers. So if my seller is still around, even though it's only been about 2 weeks, I will of course link the exact seller from whom I purchased mine in the description box. These came in a plain plastic black mailer. No bells, no whistles. They were packaged in the sets of 12 as they were advertised, so I had 4 of those. Each set of 12 came with their own hook or wand, whatever you prefer to call it. I threw those in the garbage immediately. My ride or dies already know that one of the main things I always suggest is even if you're going to get bootleg Curlformers, or in this case, waveformers, don't fuck with the hook that comes with them unless you absolutely have to, because the hooks made by the Curlformers brand are just way better. They're sturdier, they're not as sharp, and they're far less likely to snag your hair. As far as I can tell, the real Curlformers brand has not made waveformers at all, so this is actually an innovation from the bootleg industry. So thanks, China. After throwing those hooks in the garbage, I decided to soak these in warm and soapy water because, again, considering how cheap these things are, you really don't know what the conditions are in terms of their manufacturing, and I don't want to put anything that might have any weird schmutz on it in my hair. So I just like to give them a nice swish around in some warm soapy water, and then I left them to dry. I always do this whenever I buy bootleg Curlformers or anything from a shady source that I'm going to be putting in my hair. Much like Curlformers, as you can see, these come in 2 different colors, yellow and blue. I have no idea why. With Curlformers, the 2 colors are to indicate the direction of the curler. So whether it's going clockwise or counterclockwise, that will be indicated by the color. These are just waves. They're all exactly the same size, same number of humps and valleys in each. So I don't know why they're in 2 different colors. Once I had washed them all and washed my hair and deep conditioned my hair, I was ready to install. I used my usual go-to setting foam and my my usual comb that I use for my Curlformer sets. I talked about both of those in my video from Vlogmas, where I talked about my top tips to get your best Curlformer set, which I will link here. And I will also just link my favorite Curlformer set products in the description box. And then it was time to get busy. I just went ahead and started installing, again, using the Curlformers brand hooks. I've got 4 of the longer length here, just from the various sets of Curlformers that I purchased over the years. And I have to say, installing these was a breeze. I found that they were even easier to install than Curlformers because, for one thing, with Curlformers, and this is one of my super long ones, this is 29 inches long, with Curlformers, you'll often get them kind of getting kinks and twisted around, and then you have, like, after your hair is in there, so then you have to kind of rejudge them to go the right way. You're not dealing with that at all with the Waveformers because it's basically just a straight piece almost. The wave in there is very subtle and loose, and I found that even just getting them on the wand is so much easier, whereas with a Curlformer, it is a bit more of a doing to try to get it through and then not have it popping off the end sometimes, because sometimes it won't quite stay on the way you want and all that. So it's just a lot less annoying little things to deal with during the installation process. And I say that as someone who is very, very experienced with and used to installing Curlformers. So if you are new to the game and you're deciding between Waveformers and Curlformers, I can pretty much guarantee you'll have an easier time installing Waveformers by comparison. As I said, these are 50 centimeters long, and that's about 19 and a half inches, just under 20. So I was under the impression that these would be more than long enough for my hair, namely because I cut my hair quite a bit at the beginning of last year, and then I chopped off even more at the end of last year in November. I did have a shaved side on this side of my head, so this side of my hair is still growing back in, but the rest of my hair was significantly longer, and I've been slowly trimming and cutting to get things balanced. Bearing that in mind and knowing that I had also cut more inches off in November, I was certain that these would be long enough for my hair. They were not. Once I got out of my nape, which is one of the areas where I retain length the worst, I retain length pretty poorly in my nape and in my bangs, so those are always just shorter because I can't outpace the breakage. But in the rest of my hair, this side, which was never shaved, it was pretty much all too long for these, which I am shocked. And unfortunately, because these are a relatively new item and from some no-name company overseas, these only come in one length currently. So if your hair length is similar to or longer than mine, you may have an issue there. My shave side was okay, my nape was okay, and my front was okay, but what I had to do on this, the bulk of my hair, was I would have to, once the Curlformer was installed and my ends were hanging out, I would basically have to hold it at the root and then yank it to kind of scoot the ends of my hair back up inside the Waveformer, and in many cases I still had hair hanging out after doing so. I took that as an opportunity to just trim whatever was hanging out because I found in pretty much every case they were just some straggly looking ends anyway. The Passion Twist Takedown Nightmare that I shared with you guys has left me with some pretty busted looking ends that I'm gradually getting rid of, so I just use this as an opportunity to trim some of those off. Okay, I just had to change my battery, so things might look a touch different from how they did a moment ago. As I was saying, I had to do that sort of like quick tug to basically scoot my ends inside each of the Waveformers, and I don't like doing that, one, because that means that my hair is not stretched as much as it possibly could be. By scooting the ends in, you're essentially allowing your hair to shrink up slightly inside of the Waveformer or Curlformer, whatever you're using. The other option would be to basically pinch at the root and slide the Waveformer or Curlformer down until your ends were inside, which is probably a better way to go to get your ends actually a little bit straighter once they are inside the Waveformer. But I opted not to do that because my roots tangle the worst. So I had to kind of pick my poison between having my roots as stretched as possible so that I can avoid tangles later, and then basically sacrificing more stretched ends and having my ends be kind of bushy, which, as you can probably see now and you'll see later in the close-ups, is what I got. Or if root tangling isn't a massive issue for you, you might want to opt for just sliding down your Waveformer just a little bit to get your ends inside if you're dealing with Waveformers that aren't quite long enough for your hair length. Hopefully at some point there will be a longer length or even multiple length options available for these, but time will only tell. even with the real brand of Curlformers, there aren't that many lengths available, and it took them forever to come out with these super long ones, which is what I'm holding right now, which are 29 inches. As I mentioned earlier, I had 48 of these, and it turned out that I needed more. I do not have thick hair. I have thick strands, but my density is normal, maybe even on the lighter end of normal as I age. And when I do Curlformer sets, I don't really pay attention to how many I use, but I do know that I have doubles of my Curlformer. So I have 2 packs of 40. So it's probably not smart of me to think 48 would have been enough, but it really seemed like it would. So what I ended up having to do was, toward the end, I literally had 0 left for this last section in the front, and I had to go through and find ones that didn't look like they had that much hair in them, combine those so that I could take one and use it in the front. And I did that 3 or 4 times just so I could have 3 or 4 waveformers to put here in this last section. The installation process probably took me an hour and a half, I think, which is on par to slightly longer with how long it takes me to do Curlformers. Curlformers usually take me about an hour, hour and change. But with having to pull some out and then re-put them in so that I would have enough to actually get all of my hair inside the 48 I had, I think that also added time, not to mention the fact that I was filming. But magically, I did get them all in and I finished the installation, and I have to say that these do feel a lot more lightweight and more comfortable on your head than Curlformers do, especially the bootleg Curlformers. They feel a lot more flexible, not just in the length of them, but on your scalp. It's a lot more easy to maneuver them around. I find that with Curlformers, bootleg and real, it is kind of hard to move them around on the scalp. Again, you can mitigate that by just sliding them away from your roots if you like, but I really like to keep my roots as stretched and straight as I can get them. These seem to be a much more flexible material than the bootleg Curlformers that I have. I don't know if maybe that's true across a lot or all of the bootleg Curlformers currently available. I've had mine for a couple of years, but bootleg Curlformers are quite stiff, which can be a good thing if your hair texture is like mine. You might actually get a more effective stretch than you will with a real Curlformer, but nonetheless, these Waveformers, really, really nice and flexible, really easy to move, and because of the shape, you can kind of stack them essentially very easily, and that makes it a lot easier as well to just band them together if you want to keep them out of your face and keep them from flying around once they're installed and you're having them dry. It's also worth noting that because these are waves and not curls, they hang a lot longer than a Curlformer. This is a Curlformer that's approximately the same length as these Waveformers, and as you can see, the Curlformer hangs several inches higher. So once these are in, they're more like collarbone length, but these in the back of my head especially were almost like armpit bra strap length type of territory. That's not a bad thing for me at all, because I never wanted Curlformers for curls, and I didn't really even necessarily want these for waves. I just want to stretch my hair. I don't like the Shirley Temple kind of look. That's not what I'm going for. And these are actually better for me because, again, I'm trying to just stretch my hair, and I've wondered if maybe someday someone will come out with an actually like straight version of these for hair stretching. But I also think that that would leave your hair in really weird kind of strips of semi blown out looking hair, which might not be ideal. So I feel like this is the perfect middle ground where I don't have to wear any weird Shirley Temple looking curls that I don't think suit me, but I can still get stretch. Now, I've also made a choice just for my personal quality of life that I never sleep in Curlformers anymore. It is an absolute nightmare to sleep in these, but because I knew that I would be doing this video through the lens of comparing Waveformers to Curlformers, I did it for the tube and I slept in these bitches. And I will say, these are not as bad as Curlformers to sleep in, but that ain't saying much. I still had a horrible rest. Like I said, I did it for the tube. I just wanted to at least give you guys that bit of advice that if you can avoid sleeping in these, do so. So after an awful rest this morning, I did still go ahead and sit under my dryer for about half an hour. I was multitasking here, as you can see. I was oil pulling, but I just wanted to show you how my little hooded dryer attachment fit over these, because I did have some concerns over the fact that these are much longer, and I wasn't sure that because these hang so much longer than a Curlformer, if they would fit as well into that bonnet hood attachment thing. But I was able to shove them all in there, and that is what she said. In any event, 30 minutes under the dryer just gave me peace of mind, because I could not risk my hair not being dry after that horrible night of sleep and just having it be completely not worth it because my hair wasn't dry. Not me. So I'm glad I did that. After the dryer, it was time for takedown, and takedown was Snag City. As you can see around the neck of each of these mesh sheaths for the waveformers, there's a lot of melted plastic from the little border that is the very end of each waveformer, the part that kind of secures it and that you pinch. And it's kind of rough on the fingers, and that minor bit of roughness ends up being quite a lot of roughness on the hair strands. With every single one of these, I felt my hair snagging as I was removing it, except for maybe one or two. That was the exception to the rule, to not feel my hair snagging. Much like with Curlformers, I found that the best way to remove these and minimize the amount of snagging I got was to grasp it at the end that was closest to my scalp, stretch it out just like I do with my Curlformers, pinch, and then slide down. And while that did reduce the amount of hair that would get yanked out, I still had a hair strand yanked out with almost all of these. You could just see it either stuck inside of here, or you would just feel it, or whatever. So my advice is, if you do try these, or if you do try Curlformers, be careful. I do find that snagging is worse with bootleg Curlformers compared to real formers, and since the bootleg Curlformers people are also making these waveformers, it's no surprise. As you can see, my ends were not set at all. I more or less knew that because I could see inside of each waveformer that my ends were looking like little TWAs in each of them. But again, that was the choice that I made to make sure that I still had my roots as stretched as possible by keeping them inside each waveformer rather than sliding them down a bit. And in the end, I am actually still pretty happy with this purchase and how this all turned out. Unlike with a Curlformer set, I might actually wear this style out. This is how it looks with no separating whatsoever. I did go ahead and just kind of gently fluff the roots and my part in the front just a bit. I actually don't even know why I've been wearing a middle part for this video, because I don't like how I look with a middle part at all. Especially with my hair still being lopsided and this side growing out. It hasn't caught up with this side, so it's just drawing more attention to the fact that my hair is not the same length. Too late now. The point is, I'm really happy with the stretch I got. It is already frizzy and undefined. I don't mind that too much because I'm going to be throwing my hair up into a protective style because, as some of you guys know, we're doing a protective style challenge right now. And snags aside, I do see myself probably reaching for these the most going forward whenever I want to stretch my hair and I don't want to use direct heat like with my thermal brush or, a flat iron, which I haven't flat ironed my hair in I don't even know how long. The only real issue is that my hair is already pretty much the length of these on the vast majority of my head, so I don't know how much I'll be able to enjoy using these before my hair is for real too long for them, and I'll have to start reaching for my super long Curlformers again anyway. Hopefully the bootleg brand making these will see this video and will start making longer lengths. But until that happens, I'm gonna work with these because I actually do think this looks kind of cute. I don't know if you guys will agree, and if you don't be rude, girl. And as with Curlformers, I will use these only here and there because of the snagging and pulling that happens at the takedown process, because that is basically pulling out hair unnecessarily. The mechanical damage that things like this can inflict makes it worth being a little bit more conservative with the frequency with which I use these. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me today. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I normally would have saved this for one of my 4C Friday videos, but I just wanted to get this video out for you guys as soon as possible because I hadn't seen anyone with my hair texture, or if your hair texture is like mine, with our hair texture using these things, and I just wanted to do it as soon as I could, which I did because I literally picked these things up from my P.O. box yesterday. Thank you so much for watching. It is time for me to go ahead and throw my hair up in a bun or something. If you're looking for more tips, tricks, and just my general experiments and failures with using Curlformers on my hair texture, be sure to check out my playlist, which is right here, because I've done quite a few videos of Curlformers, and now I've got one on Waveformers too. I will be back next Tuesday with a tea talk, and I think it's going to be a pretty juicy one, but I know most of y'all are just here for the hair, so I wanted to get this out to you first. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
That's a nappy-headed hose there, I'm going to tell you that now.